The waiting room. The waiting room was so needy compared to other rooms in the building. This building was unlike other buildings in that the individual rooms could move about. Obviously, the waiting room would follow the owner around every time she walked into the building. That is why the waiting room was so needy. It was there when she arrived every morning, and it appeared across the hall from her office every day, and its door shuffled along the corridor whenever she went to the bathroom. It was outside every elevator, and impatient and helpless when she went to lunch. Sometimes she brought lunch to her office solely to not have to see the waiting room at midday. But then the waiting room would get other rooms to move, and they moved because the waiting room would bump them until they complied. And this led to the waiting room being outside any and every window that it could see the owner. And every day when she left work, the waiting room was like a dog at the front of the building, as if begging her not to go as its door hinge whimpered. She always left. "I can't keep doing this," she complained to her partner as they washed dishes at the sink. "It's the best building on the block," said her partner. "Do you really want to give it up?" "I can't do anything without the waiting room being under my feet. I chose a career, not a child. The room's worse than a child. It won't leave me alone." "It loves you," her partner cooed. "I hate it. Tomorrow I look for a new place. I want to wee without having a door shuffling after me." She smacked the tea towel for good measure and went to bed. The following day, the waiting room was there and the owner ignored it. She looked online for new properties and found several promising ones until her stomach turned from something she ate, and she ran to the bathroom. The waiting room ran alongside her, and its frantic empathy would have been endearing, but as soon as she shut the door, the owner was relieved. When she emerged again, there was something nice about how nervous the waiting room was for her. Its door almost rattled off its hinges, and the owner gently put her hand to it. The room was becalmed, and on the walk back to her office, it was her loyal shadow, silent but present. She almost felt guilty to have new offices on her desktop, and hid them to return to her work, but she wasn't going to forget how much the waiting room needed her. No, how needy the waiting room was, as she was certain it did this to everyone. The next project at work had her full attention, where even her partner was neglected, and the owner's plans to move locations was pushed to the end of the month. The owner forgot all about the waiting room and its needs, and would frequently be seen going through papers and files as she walked down a hall, not wasting a single moment. When papers began to spill all over the floor, she cursed, and the waiting room moved. "Oh, no, no, no," said the owner before she was suddenly inside the waiting room, and all of her fallen papers were neatly organized on a lone desk. "Thank you," she said to the waiting room, and she took the papers and left, shutting the door behind her when she saw a client she was hoping to avoid, and popped right back inside. She shut off the light, but the waiting room turned it back on. "I need to hide," she whispered, turning the light off, and the light was kept off, and the owner thought she felt the room moving, but knew that couldn't be true, as no room was allowed to do that while a person was inside, not even the waiting room. Then the light flicked on. "I said no," she said before the door opened, and the owner meant to close it, but was in shock to see she was transported right to her office. "Oh," she said softly. "I'm sorry, I thought—" "Never mind." The owner was quiet for the rest of the day, and quiet for the rest of the night. The following day, she was going out to eat with her partner and expected to have the waiting room following her right out of the building when it was nowhere to be found. She almost missed it. Almost. Until she found the waiting room was following her partner around the building, and her partner was giggling and teasing it. "Sarah, what are you doing?" said the owner. "I'm playing with your waiting room," said Sarah. "It's amazing." "Well, stop that," said the owner. "Why am I jealous?" "We're going to lunch. Why don't we order in? We could eat in the—" "No, to lunch." "All right," Sarah sighed before smiling at the waiting room. "I got my eye on you." she said before they left. The owner was satisfied that the room followed them, only to see how it stopped as if it was happily bouncing on its heels, shuffling back and forth between rooms. When the owner returned from lunch, she was in a worse mood than when she left. This is so stupid, she thought, before she packed her things into boxes and moved them into the hall. She saw the waiting room nervous and impatient and shaking again as the owner rid her office of all her possessions, including her nameplate, before she took the waiting room's plate off its door and put her own on it instead. The waiting room became still and unmoving. The owner moved in and set up her office as she liked. She put her hands on her hips. "Now, I do like a good walk," she said to the room in an authoritative voice, "and that means you cannot bring me everywhere I want to go the moment I want to be there. Is that understood? I have a desk job, and so I need to get as many steps in as I can." She waited and sensed no reply. "However, there are times when I would love it if you were exactly where I wanted you to be, the moment I want you to be there." She grew softer and her hands fell to her sides. "It's rather nice to be awaited." The room did not respond, and so the owner carried out her work from her new office, where it was there when she wanted it and absent when she did not. She felt sadder somehow, as she remembered the waiting room fonder and how it had a mind and will of its own. And now, it seemed like her will ruled over it entirely. "I just can't get it right," she thought, leaving her new office behind and heading up the stairs to meet Sarah for lunch. When she got there, she was in shock to see Sarah playing with the room again. "Sarah," said the owner. "5 more minutes," said Sarah, playing tag with her office door. The owner saw them chasing one another and popped off her heels into her hands. "Wait for me," called the owner, running and laughing after them.